Ukraine seizes 670 North Korean ammo en route to Moscow.
Before dawn today, a message pulsed through secure lines in Kyiv. A months-long hunt had hit pay dirt. Ukraine's intelligence service had just stopped one of the biggest illegal arms shipments of the modern age. The cargo was worth $670 million. It was ammunition from North Korea. It's true, buyer sat in Moscow. This was not a routine bust. It was a reveal. It showed how far Russia has fallen. It showed how far Ukraine has climbed in the craft of modern spying. The seized containers held millions of artillery shells, small arms rounds, and anti-tank munitions. The labels said construction materials. The paperwork pointed to a Central Asian destination, but the real end user was Russia's Ministry of Defense. The evidence made that clear. At the core stood Ukraine's main Directorate of Intelligence, HUR. The operation started with a flicker of data, a suspect payment between front firms in Vladivostok and Pyongyang. That flicker became a trail. It led to dummy contracts. It led to offshore accounts tied to Comid, North Korea's state arms exporter under UN sanctions. Ukrainian cyber teams began to follow the money, the messages, and the metal boxes. The route was bold but simple. The crates left Rajin in North Korea. A ship flew a Panamanian flag. It crossed the Sea of Japan. It made landfall in Russia's Far East. From there, the plan was to melt into rail lines that feed the war. Ukraine did not guess. It watched. Satellites traced movements. Radio intercepts caught chatter. Western partners helped fuse the picture. The takedown was clean. It was fast. It was exact. For the Kremlin, the blow cut deep. Russia's vast stockpiles are no longer vast. Years of heavy shelling drained them. Analysts say current output fills only a slice of what the front consumes. So Moscow went shopping among outcasts, Iran for drones, North Korea for shells. This time, the purchase never reached the guns. For Pyongyang, the motive was survival. Sanctions and famine squeezed the regime. Old ammo for hard cash and oil looked like a deal. It turned into a trap. The seizure exposed illicit trade. It also showed Russia's reliance on the world's most isolated rulers. Ukraine's win was more than a headline. It reset a part of the war. It signaled to allies and enemies that intelligence is now a frontline weapon. In the 21st century, information can hit as hard as artillery. Kyiv showed it can strike where force alone cannot. It can cut the feed lines before the shells catch fire. What followed in the days after today widened the picture. The shipment was not a one-off. It was the visible edge of a deeper system. A quiet pipeline had been moving arms, funds, and materials between Moscow and Pyongyang for over a year. The seized load was one in a chain planned for autumn. The pattern repeated. North Korean ports, middlemen in China or Central Asia, handoffs near Vostochny, rail to the west, depots near the front inside occupied Ukraine. This time, the secrecy cracked. Ukrainian units had slipped into encrypted email streams between Russian buyers and North Korean brokers. The messages hid in plain sight. They posed as sales for mining gear and industrial chemicals. They used coded terms for calibers and counts. One note cited batch 17 152mm mix. That is a direct hint at Soviet-era rounds Russia still fires. The money map told the rest. Data tools flagged shell firms in Hong Kong, Dubai, and Kazakhstan. The same names and IP addresses kept popping up. Payments looped through sanctioned Russian banks like Promsvyazbank and Web.rf. The pattern was tight. The intent was clear. These threads showed two things at once. Russia was dodging sanctions. North Korea was cashing in on the fog of war. Since early 2023, Pyongyang has hawked shells, rockets, and missile parts to any buyer who would pay. Russia became the perfect customer. US satellites had already shown busy North Korean ports. Sealed containers bore harmless labels. Train traffic spiked near the Tumangang crossing. But until this seizure, the link to Russian stockpiles was not proven in full. The $670 million catch tied the chain together. Inside the seized trove, digital files fleshed out the story. Manifests and customs forms told lies about end users. One encrypted file, later cracked by Ukrainian experts, named the final consignee as the Russian Ministry of Defense Procurement Division. The codename read Unit 312. That single line killed any denials. It put the Kremlin's name on the last line of the supply chain. The reaction abroad was fast. In Washington, lawmakers called for tighter enforcement on both Russia and North Korea. They pushed for close watch on Asian shipping lanes. They wanted more eyes on maritime transfers in the Sea of Japan. The UN panel of experts on North Korea began to review the case. The evidence could trigger one of the most serious sanctions actions in years. The fallout for Moscow is harsh. It has tried to look self-reliant. It is not. It needs foreign supplies to keep firing. Turning to North Korea is not a sign of power. It is a sign of need. State media adjusted its tone. Some outlets framed the trade as a brave unity against the West. The spin hides a simple truth. These buys are not choices of strength. They are acts of shortage. Kyiv did not keep the data to itself. It is shared with partners in Europe, Japan, and Australia. That spread the proof across every major sanctions office. The move boosts Ukraine's leverage as aid debates roll on. Seoul condemned Pyongyang's role as a direct threat to stability. Tokyo raised patrols at sea. The US, South Korea, and Japan began work on fresh sanctions aimed at North Korean shippers and Russian middlemen. The coordination showed the reach of Kyiv's victory. An intel strike on one network reshaped policy across 3 regions. Inside Russia, the mood grew tense. Hundreds of millions in munitions vanished. The loss exposed graft and poor control in the supply chain. For an army already rationing shells, the missing cargo is a severe hit. Analysts say the load could have fed the front for months. It's a loss to starve batteries. It thins Russia's fire. It shortens the breadth of its war. For North Korea, the damage is acute. Years of secret deals now sit in daylight. A UN probe looms. South Korea and Japan have expanded maritime tracking to catch more runs. Even China has quietly prodded suspect routes. Beijing's public silence is telling. It does not want to shield a flagrant breach of international law. Pyongyang's shadow markets are under strain. Ukraine's standing has grown. It is no longer seen as only defending ground. It is seen as defending norms. Its agencies, once stretched and split, now work at the edge of digital tradecraft. The capture of the North Korean shipment shows a state that has learned fast. It has turned data into a defensive weapon. It has made analysis a form of offense. This win also points to a wider shift in how wars unfold. The old picture was tanks and missiles. The new picture adds fiber lines, ledgers, and shipping manifests. Wars move through ports, clouds, and banks. Ukraine's strike is a model of that shift. It targeted the hidden arteries of an enemy's logistics. It showed that power today is part steel and part signal, part warehouse and part wire. As the news spread after today, Russia looked more alone. Its deals with Iran and North Korea did not project might. They revealed dependence. Each exposed transfer chipped at its image. Even longtime partners watched with caution. The idea of a strong, steady Russia gave way to a picture of a state under pressure. Sanctions squeezed, diplomacy cooled, options narrowed. The human side matters too. Every shell that does not reach the front is one less burst over a trench, one less crater near a village, one less life at risk in the blast zone. Interdictions like this do not end wars, but they change the tempo. They slow the engine that feeds the guns. They create time and space for better choices. In Kyiv, the message to Moscow was plain. We can see you build your networks. We can enter your channels. We can trace your money. We can read your code. We can name your units. And when the moment comes, we can close the trap. In modern war, that is as powerful as a strike group. It is as decisive as a battery of rockets. The message to allies was just as clear. Give us tools and we will use them. Share data and we will fuse it. Trust us with leads and we will turn them into results. This is how coalitions work in the digital age. Not only with tanks and missiles, but with analysts, linguists, and coders. With the patient grind of a team that never stops looking. The diplomatic echo of this operation will last. The US, the EU, Japan, and South Korea issued a joint rebuke. They called the transfer a grave breach of international law. They pledged a task force to track and stop copycat runs. That pledge is more than words. It is a new layer of defense that spans oceans. It binds capitals that share the same goal. Keep banned weapons off the battlefield. Keep the rules from eroding under the weight of a single war. None of this means the road ahead is easy. Russia will probe for new routes. North Korea will try to rebrand companies and ships. Brokers will change names and servers. The cat and mouse will continue. But Kyiv now has a map, a method, and momentum. It has partners who have seen the receipts. It has a case file thick enough to push courts and councils to act. And it has a story that speaks to the era we live in. In this era, the noble winner is not only the side with more tanks, it is the side that outthinks, outtracks, and outmaneuvers in the shadows. It is the side that keeps faith with the idea that law matters, even under fire. It is the side that can protect people by stopping cargo that no one was meant to see. When historians write about today, they may not dwell on a single raid or a single pier. They will talk about a turn. They will note how a nation under siege mastered a new kind of reach. They will show how a coalition rose to meet an evolving threat. They will point to a night when silence broke, channels lit up, and a plan fell apart before the seals on the crates could be cut. Ukraine's $670 million seizure is more than a logistics win. It is a proof point. It proves that resilience can become a strategy. That strategy can become action. That action can reshape a front far from the line of contact. It proves that in a world where wars are fought with code as well as cannon, the edge belongs to those who can see farther and move faster. The war will go on. There will be other shipments and other hunts. There will be losses and wins. But this moment stands out. It shows what a smart, patient, and relentless defense can do. It shows that networks can be broken, that lies can be read, that the dark can be mapped, and that sometimes, before sunrise, the cables will hum with the sound of a plan coming together. Today, that sound carried across Ukraine's defense grid. It marked a victory in the shadow war. It reminded the world that truth, shared and acted upon, can stop even the heaviest cargo in its tracks.